Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Burns.
Yeah, Nancy Burns here.
And we're from Future Theater. And you know what we like to listen to?
Bang.
Radio on Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m.?
What
Eastern.
network?
Oh, the best network on the whole entire internet. Inception Radio Network.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Get ready to pang your head. Your radio host for Pang Radio, Mike Lucas.
Welcome, folks, to Pang Radio. Tonight is Wednesday, November 5th, 2014. This is a Pang Radio special. Tonight we have some breaking news and some great stuff in store for you tonight. This is a kind of a weird night to be on the air, but a Wednesday, we're going to be on an hour. California MUFON Radio with Lori and Fenton will be up in 2 hours. But we have on our guests tonight. We have Brandon on, and of course my co-host, Mr. Storch, is going to kind of talk about what the show's about and do a few shout-outs. And go ahead and take it, Ken.
Hey, all right. Well, listen, this is kind of deja vu. Wednesday at 8 o'clock here in Northeast Oklahoma. It used to be the old Paradigm Unhinged hour, kind of returning to the scene of the crime, if you will. Yeah. But, hey, I want to do a couple shout outs. I know George and Doug and the Oklahoma UFO paranormal team, Marilyn and Dick, are listening in tonight. And yes, Marilyn, I have some of your questions ready to go for Brandon. And this is there's a couple of things I want to say before we get into the meat and potatoes. And one of them is that this is an ongoing research, investigation, however you want to label it. So there are some things that I do know that I'm not going to reveal, only to maintain continuity of this investigation and be able to verify information as it comes in. And having said that, there are three levels when I do an investigation, whether it's flying saucers or when it was law enforcement and criminal investigation. And I've said this a number of times, and I just want to reiterate it so that you know where our listeners, that was kind of a conceited statement, wasn't it?
That's okay.
MJ?
That's okay. Yeah.
Oh, boy. No, it wasn't a Freudian slip. But those three levels of proof, if you will, for me, and the court system, and that is reasonable suspicion, and then there's probable cause, and then there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And in order for me personally to get to proof beyond a reasonable doubt in any investigation, you hold back certain information so that as you go down this path, you can verify it and know that you continue to talk to people and evidence that's coming forward is legit. Mm-hmm. And so at this stage of the game, I'm at reasonable suspicion, but there's a lot of smoke. Let's put it that way. And tonight we have a gentleman that I've known for 37 years. And I can vouch for his authenticity and his legitimacy, and refer to him as Brandon, and that is his real first name, by the way. Brandon, welcome to Pang Radio and the show tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, well, I wanted our listeners to know that Brandon is firsthand, what we would refer to as firsthand witness. He met this gentleman that had an extraordinary story.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some extraordinary details to this story. And as we go down this path tonight, we'll reveal them. But it has to do with the first Iraq War. It has to do with General Schwarzkopf's battle plan. And before we go any further, Brandon, why don't we just tell the audience how you met this gentleman? How did you come in contact with Ryan? And we'll use his name, Ryan.
Well, that's a funny story in itself. I met him through my job, working at a local grocery called King Soopers here in Colorado. And I met him through nervous people who said there's someone coming in to rob the store wearing full body armor. And what I mean by that is Kevlar helmet, Kevlar vest, anything that would cover the vital parts of a human body, this guy is wearing.
Hey, Brandon, he was wearing a flak jacket? I mean, body armor on the outside?
I would say more than a flak jacket. We're talking Kevlar vest, which is military grade.
Okay.
Which is
and let me stop people right there real quick so they know your background. Brandon, you served in the military, didn't you?
Yes, correct.
Why don't you tell our listeners so that way they'll know that when you looked at this guy, you recognize what it is that you were seeing. Well, you were in the United States Army, weren't you?
I was in the United States Army in the infantry, so I was in combat arms myself.
You wore that kind of equipment?
Oh, all the time. Every time we did a outfield mission, we either wear a flank vest or what they call a ballistic armor.
Okay, so now you're providing security for this grocery store, King Soopers, and you get a call that there's somebody in the store that nervous customers and some employees, I take it, were thinking that they were going to get robbed, right?
That's correct. And when I did, I panned the camera around. I see this guy, and he's back in the deli section of the store. And I was like, oh, Jesus, no kidding. This guy is, they're legit about this guy. This guy is kind of shady. So I called the local police department. And within, 15, 20 minutes, they showed up.
Now, you didn't approach this gentleman. You kept him under surveillance until the cavalry arrived, right?
Company standards, just keep surveillance, make sure you have all the stuff you need in case something were to go down. You have all the evidence that the company would need. So about 25 minutes ago, Littleton, believe it or not, police department showed up, knocked on my door, and they're like, hey, responding to your call. And just to let you know, this guy is okay. He's safe. He's just paranoid that the government's out to get him. Like, oh, that's kind of strange. What do you mean he's out to get him? Well, he claims he's ex-Navy SEAL, and he's just paranoid. He thinks the government's out to get him. So I was like, well, that's kind of weird. So off and on for the next couple of weeks, I keep seeing this guy coming in, always wearing the ballistic armor, always doing, small little things, getting milk, bread, cheese, and on his way. I took it upon myself being a vet. I'm going to get to know this guy. This guy seems kind of interesting to me. And over a couple-month period, I got to know him on first-name basis.
Hey, now, let me stop you right there real quick. This was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, about 2007 time period.
Okay. I just want to give our listeners a time frame. Go ahead.
So, after getting to know the guy for a little bit, I had to ask him, what's with all the body armor? And he goes, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I go, well, try me. He says that I'm an ex-Navy SEAL, and the government wants to kill me for what I know. I go, know about what? He goes, what happened in the first war, the first Iraqi war? I go, well, I was just finishing up high school. I just know what was told to me before I entered the service myself. And he goes, well, be here tomorrow and I'll tell you a story. So next day comes by and Ryan shows up and he has a folder with him. And he goes, first off, I'll tell you, this is the year I graduated from BUDS, which is Special Operations SEAL Training, was in 1996. So he went through his Q course. He goes, here's my picture. Here's all the fun stuff that goes along with it. Here's my DD-214.
Okay, that's one of the questions that one of our listeners I have written down. You saw his DD-214. Why don't you explain that to our listeners just so they know what that government initial stands for? I've got one. You've got one. And anybody that's been in the military, George, I think you got one. But and I know, Dick, you've got one. So go ahead.
DD-14 just basically tells one person's service time, what he did and did not do in the service. For mine, for example, it says, 11 Bravo, did time overseas, medals served, stuff like that. Just qualifies you as your vet status, we'll put it that way.
And your discharge status.
And your discharge time, we'll say honorably discharged and so forth.
So now you saw his DD-214. Did it substantiate his claim as being a Navy SEAL?
It sometimes said that it was Department of the Navy. It didn't go into much detail of what it was. It did say demolitions expert. And it was, very vague. It didn't say I was, SEAL team commander or anything like that. It just says
right.
Demolitions of the Department of the Navy.
Okay.
Much like mine, but minus, all the other jargon. So I go, okay, well, tell me. And he goes, well, I'm going to take you back in history a little bit, Brandon. He goes, let's go back to the first Iraq War. Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. I'm like, yeah. He goes, part of the Union coalition under George Bush Sr. was to liberate the Kuwait people. And to do that, he went to the most knowledgeable person of the Middle East, which was General Schwarzkopf. By most people know he lived over in that area for a length of time and knew how to deal with the Middle Eastern people.
I think he lived in the Middle East for like 30-some years. Schwarzkopf
Yeah, he
did.
was.
Yeah, that's verifiable.
So
that's true. He did.
Now, Schwarzkopf, or Bush went to Schwarzkopf and goes, well, give me a battle plan. Schwarzkopf goes, pretty simple. To send a message to the Middle Eastern people, we have to go in and we have to kill Saddam Hussein. There's no ifs and buts about it. This is the mission is set forth, do it my way, and the Middle East will not mess with this for many, many years. George Bush Sr. agreed to that plan and thus started off the first Iraq War. But prior to that, we had a bunch of we call it surgical airstrikes. We had a whole bunch of black op missions that took place. Ryan's mission, part of his special forces unit, was to go behind enemy lines, 30 or 40 miles behind enemy lines into what is known as modern-day Iraq, to set up fuel and ammo depots for when the main army comes across for the main battle. Now, they lost contact.
This was behind. They went behind the Iraqi lines and set up this fuel dump to resupply these armored vehicles that are going to come crashing across the desert, right?
Correct. I mean, tanks, Bradleys, all the infantry guys would be coming across the desert to basically to speed up the process. That way, we're not stopping, refueling. They can just do it.
So Ryan was part of that. He was in the Navy SEALs at that time, or at least
Correct.
he was overseas in Iraq and was part of that mission.
Correct. But the only thing about Ryan's unit is they lost contact with Ryan's unit. So the department thought they were either KIA or MIA, which is KIA is killed in action or MIA is missing in action. And when the war finally kicked off, part of the Army Brigade came across the desert and they met up with Ryan's unit. And the colonel goes, we've been trying to get contact with you. We have lost all contact. You guys are actually missing in action. Use physical document. Missing in action. And Ryan goes, well, we're not. We're right here. We've always been here. None of that's ever changed.
And how many? Do we know how many people were in his unit that were behind enemy lines that were at that specific location?
That I do not know. I never got that kind of information out of him.
Okay. So go
I
ahead.
would imagine it's probably the majority of his team, I would imagine. But anyway, they set up a field depot. They lost contact. And what came about was when the Army came through and the tank battalions came in, they're like, we lost contact with you. Why? And it was like, well, that's funny you asked that. Because now you, too, cannot communicate with the military. And by this time, we are using what they call SATCOM radios, which communicates with satellites, which speeds up the communication on the battlefield for most commanders. All those satellites, all that communication was knocked out. Well, the colonel goes, well, what's going on? He goes, that's funny you asked that. Let's show you. So he walked over and he showed the colonel a pyramid sticking out of the ground. Just a top part of it.
When he said a pyramid, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut into it. It was just the tip of it, right? Just
the tip of it. The whole thing was mostly buried in the desert of Iraq, but just the tip of it was hanging out. And he goes, we attract the power source, or what's disrupting our communications to this location. We don't know what it is. We just know it's knocked out our communications. About this time in the war period, if everyone recall, Iraq was on full retreat. We pretty much had them defeated. They were pulling out of Kuwait, and we were kicking their butts. Going back to General Schwarzkopf, he said we had to go into Iraq. We had to kill Saddam. At that point in time, we ceased all military actions against the Iraqis. All combat operations ceased, and we pretty much stopped where we're at.
Did Ryan say what? Well, let me stop right there. He showed you a picture of the.
Yeah, he showed me the picture at the top of it, and what to me it looked like was a simple picture of what you see out of Egypt. It's the tip of a pyramid.
Well, let me ask you something right there. Do you think it was a legitimate picture? Was it something that was Photoshopped? Because I know we're going to get all kinds of questions about that. So, in your opinion, you're looking at it. Was it color?
No, it was color, but as the desert has a funny way of putting sand prints or dents into the camera. What do you call that? The photo part of the camera. So you really don't get a crystal clear picture, but you do get a decent clear picture.
And so you saw that he produced a picture that.
Yeah, he produced several pictures. He produced pictures of where the ammo depot was at. Where they were basically sleeping at night. Some of the patrols that they were on, and of course the pyramid.
Brandon, how far out of the ground did he tell you this pyramid was sticking up? How much was showing?
From my guesstimate, he didn't really say how high it was out of the ground, but I would say at least 60 feet.
60? Wow, I was thinking more like 12 feet or 10
I was thinking 3 feet.
Yeah, I thought about that too, Ken. Yeah.
It was
feet. Well, hey, it depends on how big this damn thing was too, I guess. Yeah. It's all relative, but so was there any reference in the foreground? I mean, or was it just a picture of the pyramid, or was there a picture of him, his buddies, or whatever?
You got pictures of him and his buddies. You got pictures of the Humvee vehicles that they used, and some other the vehicles that they were using on site. There's one picture of where the actual tank commander. You actually see the tip of the Abrams barrel in front of the picture.
In front of the, it's in the picture with the pyramid.
With the pyramid, correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, you can definitely see where they were standing and where the pyramid did rise above them.
Okay, I've got a question here, and this comes once again from Marilyn. She's done some research, and apparently the Saddam Hussein had some bunkers that he built in and around Fallujah and Baghdad and whatever, and he covered them, and they were pyramided in shape. Do you? Go ahead. This wasn't an ammo bunker or storage bunker,
no.
At least.
When I was over southern Iraq, when I did my time over there, we did find these bunkers that Saddam had made. They, not necessarily pyramid shape. They did take form of a pyramid, but they were not exactly a pyramid. We did a good job of blowing most of those up.
Okay.
Okay.
But what you saw in the picture was...
It was like you were looking in Egypt.
Okay, and what color was it?
It was more like a tannish desert. I mean, most of it was covered up by the sand. There was a tip of it, though, was almost a glass-looking crystal, maybe.
So, Brandon, a question from chat from American Road Warrior was the capstone on it, so it did have a pointed top completely?
It did have, and it was a full-on pyramid. It didn't have, not like the Pyramid of Giza, but it did have the top on it.
Top was on. Okay, thank you. Bill from New York. Brandon. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, like I said, they did track the power source to the pyramid, so they knew that something was disrupting their communications from that location.
That's what Ryan told you, that they were able to? Yeah. That was where they were having trouble with their communication devices.
That was where they are getting all their power spikes.
Interesting. Now, Bill from New York had a question, too, for you, Brandon. Did he provide any pictures he provided the pictures, but did he provide an exact location of this pyramid?
He would not. The only reason why, because he says, the more I know, the more trouble I would be in. Because I will give you everything that I know to a point.
Did he show you any other documentation?
He did show me his, like I said, his Navy SEAL his emblem that he got, his unit patch, even his trident with the anchor on it.
Very interesting.
Which all signifies SEAL teams.
What rank was he? Do you know?
I was DD-14, and he was a staff sergeant.
Okay. Or at least a naval rank equivalent to a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
What is that? That's an E5? E6?
No, that would be E6.
E6. Okay.
The Brandon, we have another question from chat. Bill from New York. Did he provide you what year this picture was taken?
The picture was taken, that he did not give me, but I was right before the Iraqi war, so it's got to be within 98, 99, I would imagine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. How many pictures did he show you as evidence? I mean, did he come in with an envelope, maybe 10, 15 pictures, or did he have a lot of them?
He had quite a few of them. Some of them that we did not go through all of them completely due to time and restrictions and other things that were taking place that day.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
And now, just so our listeners understand, you interacted with Ryan for about several months or so before
I did. I had to earn his trust before he opened up to me at all.
I was going to say, this wasn't like the second meeting and the next thing you know, you guys were breaking bread together and he's showing you all this stuff.
It took me a while he had to trust me, and a lot of military jargon was thrown back and forth to each other. I think it was more of a feeling out period on his behalf.
And just so I can tell our listeners, I first heard about this story about 4 years ago, when Brandon first, 2007, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. When Brandon first got a hold of me and told me the story, and then I'll tell. I think I've already broached a little bit with our listeners that I have additional information that parallels about something going on over in Iraq from, and MJ, this was Judy Orsatti. She was on the board of the Mutual UFO Network when John Schuessler was the international director. And I'll go into that later on, but the information that she provided adds more smoke, to this reasonable suspicion point that I'm at now. So go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry, I got off on a little bit of tangent there, but I just wanted to update our listeners that it took a little bit of time for you to break down this guy to where he came forward with this stuff. Just like I said, it wasn't a second meeting and you guys were breaking bread together.
No, it took a lot of, a lot of mistrust on his side. There was a lot of,
So where you met him and he continued to meet him was at your place of work. He would come in and do his shopping. Did you ever go to his house or his apartment? Did you ever know where he lived?
I knew no, actually I did not. He would never divulge that information. And like I said, even when we were talking, it was always looking over his shoulders, always looking for a clear exit out of the place in case he had to leave quickly. He was never in one spot for too long.
And he thought that because, well, why did he think that because he knew about this pyramid and what happened in his unit? Did the other guys in his unit, I mean, are they around, or do we know?
From what I got, most of his guys are not around. Most of his team unit is now deceased.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe there was a little justification to his paranoia. Well, let me ask you this question, because I know there's people out there that are listening or going to your opinion, and that's what we have to go on, because you interacted with him and you got to know Ryan, at least to the extent where he started trusting you with why he was wearing Kevlar vest and armored bulletproof vest and stuff like that. Did you believe him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's dealing with the general public on a daily basis. You can just,
right.
He had nothing to hide. It was just, here it is. Take it for leave it or leave it.
He was explaining to you why he was paranoid.
Yeah, this is reason why I am who I am right now. Like I said, the guy wasn't crazy in any aspect of form.
And that's, I'm sure there are people listening that are wondering if this guy was, off on the deep end, and he was out there, schizophrenic and was imagining all this stuff. But your personal opinion, you've interacted with him. He seemed, sober and lucid, right?
Very, very sober, very lucid, very up to date on current events, very knowledgeable of certain events.
Okay, and he was presenting you with his DD-214, which is, it's not that can't be faked, and that you can have all kinds of documentation printed off the internet, but you interacted with this guy, and that's what I want to stress, is because Brandon's in the business of dealing with some pretty hardcore people. You have to know where he works in the inner city of Denver, so he has over the years contacted a multitude of personalities, right, Brandon?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I just want to stress to our listeners that you have a feel for people, and that's what I'm asking you. Do you think this guy was legit?
Oh, 100% legit.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that I even seen, it sent chills up my spine.
Oof, jeez. So
it was just like, this is weird. Like I said, what really set him off from anyone else is I've talked to people. I've been in the Air Force or the Navy or the Army, and I've done this and this, and their military jargon does not add up.
Leave out the Marines.
Well, the Marines too, the other Marines, but the military jargon doesn't add up. You're like, oh, where'd you go to school? And Ryan was right on. This is where I went to school. This is where I joined in this date. I was selected through Q course on this date. Blah blah blah. Just kept on going. And it just added up, and it all clicked. Like this guy knows what he's talking about. Versus someone who's like, I went through Air Force Academy basic training in Canada.
Right.
Brandon, we got a question. Go ahead, Brandon. Finish.
No, go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead.
Brandon, we got one more question before we take a quick break. This is from Redshift. Now, did Ryan speak of any of the Iraqi natives talking about the pyramid or as a historical site? Did any of the locals talk about it that you were aware of? Did he mention that?
Ryan's location was a strictly desert location, pretty isolated. Maybe some of the Moabs knew about it, but I never heard anything of people talking about it or him talking about it to natives.
Okay. Well, Ken and Brandon, let's take our one and only break. You're listening to a paying radio special on the Inception Radio Network. Tonight we're talking about the so-called Iraqi pyramid, and we'll be right back with more questions and more information from Ken and Brandon, so hang in there, folks.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception radio shows on the go Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's EPICVOYAGERS.com.
People, the way things are going, we need a simple, efficient way to keep track of our personal income and expenses. Make the discovery. My Home Accounting is your easy-to-use and learn bookkeeping program. It works with Windows XP, Windows 7 or 8 on your desktop or laptop. Download your no-risk trial copy today from our website at www.myhomeaccounting.ca. And remember, 100% of all sales revenue goes to the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, a registered charity. Again, our website is www.myhomeaccounting.ca.
Hi, Bob Tarmac for MJsHealthyWay.com. Are you into vitamins, nutrition, meal replacements, health shakes, keeping your body in good shape, your internal engine going? Boy, do I have a perfect place for you. MJsHealthyWay.com. They offer the best service and products, and they'll tell you anything you need to know about any product they have to offer. I get all my vitamins, meal replacements, shakes from MJsHealthyWay.com. That's spelled MJsHealthyWay.com. There's so much more at the website. Go check it out. MJsHealthyWay.com.
Écoutez Pong Radio tous les dimanches à 21h Eastern, uniquement sur Inception Radio Network.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Welcome back, folks, to Paying Radio. Tonight we have a special report on the Iraqi pyramid with somebody that talked to a witness that did actually see this type of object sticking out of the ground in the desert during the first Iraqi war. So we're going to go through some more information, and I am first going to start off with the next question from chat. Then Ken will go ahead and talk to Brandon here too. Neutron wants to know, Brandon, was the pyramid first entered by Saddam force before the American military did? What were we the first ones to enter this? Did he let you know about that at all?
What I gathered was no one knew about it. It was just buried, and through time, wind uncovered it.
And it was strictly an accidental encounter, right? I mean,
yeah, it was just by the luck of the draw. That's where we're going to put our special forces at. Put them down, they lose contact.
Weird.
So
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't there. Now it's there. Now type of thing.
I think it's probably safe to say that the Iraqis didn't know about it either.
I was just going to say that, Ken. Yeah, I mean, what Saddam did not know about this. That is just crazy.
But you know what is interesting, and once again, this is a little bit of smoke, even though we may not have the fire, but we established a no-fly zone over this. When Schwarzkopf got stopped from going into Baghdad, we immediately put up a no-fly zone over that part of Iraq. Where, down along Kuwait, I forget, they had a name for that corridor, but we did establish a no-fly zone over that area, which is kind of interesting. What's that?
And the no-fly zone was also blocked out with any terrain features, too. It was just a grid locked out.
So I don't know that you could even, if you were even be able to Google that part of
oh yeah, I'm sure they took care of that.
I'm sure that that was probably. I've got an interesting story about the Phoenix Triangle and satellite photographs. I got myself in a little bit of hot water on that one, but that's beside the point. So. Did you get Neutron's question answered or?
Yeah. That'll cover it. So it doesn't sound like Saddam actually knew about this place.
I don't think anybody did. I mean, the way this thing is unfolding, I think it was one of those things where it just happened to be accident, and they dropped these guys in. And I mean, if this bears fruit, they dropped these guys in, and bingo, their communication devices when they got on station didn't work. And so, hey, I just want to ask you this question, Brad. I know we talked about it during the break, and that is, you saw pictures of Ryan in full combat gear in Humvees, standing next to a Humvee and Abrams tank in the foreground and whatnot, right?
Correct. Like I said, he also had like night vision goggles, stuff that's military issued. I mean, it's hard to deny that type of evidence.
Right, and that's what I wanted to stress is that the picture that you saw of Ryan, he was in full combat gear, and that that would be very difficult to hoax, if you will. Okay, yeah. So back to Ryan. Do you know what he did for a living after he got out of the Navy? Do you have any idea? I mean, he was a demolition expert, but I don't recall of any major explosions going off across the country during that time after a while. But what?
As far as I know, he was unemployed at the time that I knew him.
Do you know where he was living? Was he staying in a weekly motel or apartment or what?
He was staying at what he called dive-in hotel. That way it was an easy getaway if he needed to get away. And he cut all ties with his family.
Is that what he told you?
Yeah, he said he has no contact with his family. They don't know where he's at, that type of scenario.
Okay. So up to this point, how long have you been interacting with Ryan? How long he's been showing you pictures? He's been telling you this, fantastic story about this pyramid that they stumbled onto out in the desert. How long have you been interacting with Ryan up to this time?
Since 2007 till now, it was pretty much a monthly rendezvous we would have.
And he would come into your store. Did you have any way to contact him? You did have a phone number for him at one time, didn't you?
I did have a phone number, but that was only, he had a card number. I mean, it was one of those little trash phones that you buy out of Walmart and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Temporary, yeah.
It was never a set phone to him.
Do you think he was homeless?
No, I don't think he was even his armor was cleaned. I mean, he didn't have any sweat stains on it or anything.
Well, that's going to ask you his appearance. He wasn't living under a bridge, is what I'm getting at.
No, he had some type of a currency, but I don't know to what extent or where he was getting it from. Like I said, he was clean cut and shaven. The pictures I did see of Ryan, though, were he was full beard and he was clean shaven when I knew him.
Okay.
Very interesting, yeah.
And he was full beard when he was over in Iraq.
Yeah, he was in full beard. He had the ensemble of most special force pictures taken even today.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue on with. So you've been interacting with him for several years now.
Yes.
And just so our listeners know, when Brandon first got a hold of me and said, "Hey, you need to talk to this Ryan character," and Brandon had filled me in a little bit, we were in the process of trying to do that, right?
Correct.
I mean, you were talking to him saying, "Hey, you need to talk to Ken. He might be able to help you." And in fact, I even told you when you contacted him that his best. He was afraid that somebody within the government was going to take him out, right? I mean, that was his paranoia.
That was his. Yep, it was his fear.
And that he had stumbled across this secret, and he was carrying this burden, basically, okay, and that was his basis for. He thought they were going to shoot him, is what his paranoia was, right?
Correct.
And I instructed Brandon, just so our listeners know, that I said, hey, approach him with this angle, that if he wants to get rid of the body armor and get rid of the paranoia, to come forth with this story and allow me or someone, it didn't necessarily have to be me, but at least get the story out there and get it so that other people were aware of it, so that if something did happen, okay, and I don't mean to laugh because it did, but I thought that would be a way of convincing Ryan to come on the show and talk to us and produce some of the documentation that he had shown you, so that we could do that would help and go a long ways to protecting him, right?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
And
he was very standoffish. Again, he went back to like, "What are you doing to me? Don't do this." Type scenario.
Yeah, when you approached him about coming and talking to me, he got paranoid over again.
Well, he got upset, very upset. He's like, this was between you and me. Who are you telling? Why are you telling them? Don't you know people's lives are at risk here? That was his paranoia.
Yeah. Well,
I told him, it's calm down, relax, take a chill pill, and we'll talk this out. And we did. And he was actually leaning towards the idea, even flirting with the fact of doing just that.
Right. I remember about 6 months ago, you contacted me and said, "Hey, I think Ryan's going to talk to you," and I told you to give him my phone number and have him call me, and start at least a dialogue and a communication to basically bring him out of the dark and into the light, is how I was going to approach it. And we were working towards just that. And when you called me and said, "Hey, I think he's leaning that way," we started in earnest of trying to get Ryan to come talk to me. Just so listeners know, I never spoke with the man. I never got an opportunity. Well, hey, Brandon, why don't you tell him what happened?
Well, again, Ken was pushing me to get contact with the guy, and all of a sudden the contact stopped. I never saw the guy again. I go, I don't know where he's at. I think I even told you a couple times. I haven't seen him.
Yeah, in fact, you and I talked on the phone for a couple of weeks or months or whatever it was, and I kept saying, "Hey, Brandon, have you?" And you said, "I haven't seen him," and the number that you had for him was either disconnected or no longer in use, right?
You're correct. And a couple weeks go by. Well, actually, a couple months go by. And a fellow police officer that I know on DPD, he goes, "Hey, we found your guy." I go, "Found my guy? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Found Ryan." I go, "Where'd you find him at? I've been looking for him." He goes, "Well, he was found in the alleyway, shot. He was actually shot and killed." And I relayed that to you, and it was, "Hey, Brandon, get me a case number. Get me something that we can go off on this."
Yeah, just let me interject here real quick. When Brandon notified me that Ryan's body had been found, I think in an alley, right?
Correct.
Was that what the officer told you, that his body was found?
That's what.
And of course I was. Immediately, I told Brandon, I said, "Hey, get me a case number." I said, "If you can get the original report from the officer," I mean, I know how it works, having been one for 31 years. I I immediately told Brandon, I said, hey, get me a case number.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to inceptionradionetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to inceptionradionetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit inceptionradionetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to inceptionradionetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to inceptionradionetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO sky watches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO sky watches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.